Kia tau te Maori, mahi a te mahi, a te taioi, e wawe rawa, te pakeketanga, ki o hoki no, ki taua wā, aha kōtonu, au wahi ana, I te taha oku, prata, rere ana mehe waka, te aru watu nei.
Can I talk?
Te aru watu nei. Hoki ngā mahara, taku tamari ki tanga, karekau o te riki, te Māori, a muri kura papareti, hui mai te kāhui, I te tongo o te rā, papareti, kimihia, whanikoti, o ake ki te taone, momi taru me he tāne, whakanui a te tauhau, aha koa karekau, he moni e pohara ana me he hauhau, e aha te pau a ka whakata, kapa ina hihi o te rā. E aha te pau a ka whakata, kapa ina hihi o te rā. Kia tau te Māori, mahi a te mahi, a te taioi, e wawe rawa, te pakeketanga, ki o hoki no, ki taua wā, aha kōtonu, au wahi ana, I te taha oku, rata, rere ana mehe waka, te aru watu nei. Karekau e tirihau, kare ai whaunga, karekau e uwa, hiki papa ki te moro hei hei, o ma atu e lūten, e tamari ki haututu, hare mai apetitu, koia aku tino tau, e tua o ta waua, inu me te kawa ana nā, hare mai te mana, ko te ihi me te wana, whiti ki taua, au atu wana ko te wā, au wana te ronga, te pai a hua, e ate papa ki wha apatake, huri te wā, humau tonu anā.
Kia ora no tātou. We're going to start in a minute. So if you haven't already, grab a drink, grab some food and also a seat. We're looking forward to talking with you.
Do you want me to do that or do you mind doing that?
No, we're not going to do that. Okay. Kia ora.
I'm just going to say the karakia, e tū. He whakamoemiti, he whakatūwhera, te Mahere Whai Mahi Wahine hui. Me ino e tātou, e tō mātou, mātua, I te rangi. Hōmai te piki ora. Piki kaha, piki māramatanga. Kia o mātou tinana. Me o mātou wairua, arahia mātou, ko te wairua tapu, tō mātua āriki, āmene.
Amen.
And I have a waiata for you this morning that I feel Atua gave me, because the sisterhood here is strong, and you're in the heart of the south side, so welcome. He kakanoa hau, uiriri mai, I rangi a te ai tū. And we can never be lost, for we are seeds born of greatness, descended from a line of chiefs. Ki hara wehi tiki tiki anakama toni aho akuti kanga toku reo toku oho toku reo toku mapi maria toku whakaka marihi. My language is my strength, an ornament of grace. Katuana aho ho ho ho, kauhia ho, ioku tipuna. Our pride we will show, that you may know who we are, sisterhood. For we are warriors, we are survivors. He Mahere Whai Mahi, ki hara wehi tiki tiki anakama toni aho okuti kanga. Toku reo toku oho, toku reo toku mapi maria, toku whakaka marihi. Our language is our strength, an ornament of grace. Te Maori ora. That's how we roll in the South Side.
Oh, wow. Can I just ask you to please put your hands together for Sister Peta Palalangi. She is Ngāti Kuri, and also her other half is the rock from Niue. So that must be the rock spirit thriving and pushing through her. E nā waiwai tapu, e nā mana, e nā reo, e nā waka, haere mai, haere mai, haere mai tēnei kaupapa, te Mahere Whai Mahi Wahine. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia orana koutou katoa toa, whakalofalahi atu, malo e lelei, ni some Bluwave naka. And for those of you that have come all the way from the land of the right crowd in Hamilton, special greetings to you. And those of you also that had travelled further from the Waikato, I think from Wellington, the team, also special connections to you this morning. And welcome to the Tamaki Makaurau. This is our home, our land, and I suppose, as our sister had just sang, our language and our cultures are very important. So today is a very special day. I need not say what Tracy's going to say. But however, I think it's wonderful to welcome all of you here. It's a beautiful day. It was raining, pissing down rain yesterday. And look, the prayer must have gotten to the Lord, and she has decided to give us the sunshine today. So without further ado, I now have the pleasure of inviting Tracy Haupopo, who's not a stranger to all of us here. She's a woman in her own esteem and of course wears many hats. And in her hat today, she is the chairperson of NACU, which is the National Advisory Council for the Employment of Women. So, ladies and gentlemen, put our hands together and welcome Tracy Haupapa.
Tēnā tātou, katoa hau ki te tautoko ngā mihi kua mihia. I'm really pleased to be here. I live in the Waikato, so shout out for Kirikiriroa, and really appreciated the drive up as an opportunity to reflect on why we're here today. We are here to launch this document, which is more than a plan. It is a process, a guideline, and a true north for our wahine in terms of women's employment, and the action plan is real. And I want to acknowledge our Minister Teneti for her leadership on this particular piece of work. I want to also acknowledge our other minister here today, Carmel Sepuloni, for her commitment to ensuring employment for women is a priority for this nation. And I also want to acknowledge each and every one of you here for joining us. Let me acknowledge also, in the acknowledgements of the acknowledgement, Kelly Coombs, who is the Chief Executive for the Manatū Wahine, along with Deb Malcolm and also Jamie Hayden, who were integral to this program of work. So tēnei te mihi ki a koe e hoa. I also want to acknowledge Angela McLeod, who along with Bernadette and myself serve on the National Advisory Council on the Employment for Women, and we're representing our council members who aren't able to join us today. A couple of short things, because my job is really just to guide traffic and make sure that everyone's here. I'm just seeing Jade Tang Taylor, who's also on our council as well. Kia ora e hoa. We all know that wealth and well-being should be more equally and equitably shared across our communities. We know that the role of our wahine is critically important in that. And so today we are here to listen to our Minister for Women, listen to our Minister for Employment, and also to share in some stories from our speakers and our panel later on. It gives me great pleasure, and it is an honour to invite Minister Jan Teneti to the table to talk with us about this plan. Ho mai he paki paki.
Tuhia ki te rangi, tuhia ki te whenua, tuhia ki te ngako o ngā tangata, ko te mea nui, ko te araha, tihei Maori ora. Kia ora koutou, ngā mihi nui ki a koutou. Thank you so much for all being here this morning. I'm overwhelmed with how many people there are here today, and it's so wonderful to see you all. I've been smiling all morning. I am so excited that we are here able to launch this morning, and I want to first of all acknowledge my colleague Carmel Sepuloni and the work that you have done to progress this to this stage. When I came in to be Minister for Women in November in 2020, and this was one of the goals that we had immediately around getting this plan up and running. And I'm just going to, this is the thing about putting my speech on my phone, is that it goes dead halfway through it. That Carmel came straight on board and was one of our biggest supporters to get this through and get this to the stage of being able to work on it. And so I can't thank you enough for your championing of this particular piece of work. I also want to do a big shout out to Kelly and your team at the Ministry for Women. You have been amazing, so thank you. And a special mention to Jamie and Deb, and especially Deb, because you have been exceptional in getting to this point. And I champion you wherever I go to, and say that this is the person that you need to speak to for how we're going to get this further and what's going to come from this. Because one of the tasks that I have said right from the word go is, today is the start. I do not want this to be something that's archival and sits on a shelf. This is a living document that we truly want to see will make a big difference to the women of Aotearoa, New Zealand. And Deb has heard me, and she has run with that, and she is the champion of what is going to happen next, which I'm really excited about. Also, Tracy, you and the National Advisory Council for the Employment for Women and your partner organisations for the work that you have led to get this to this point. You have heard from many, many women around Aotearoa, and you have heard some stories that haven't been easy to hear, but more than that, they haven't been easy for people to tell. And so for those women in this room who have been part of that journey, I thank you wholeheartedly for your bravery in telling your stories, because it's only when the light has shone on it is that we can make the difference and be the difference for you and the generations who come after us. So thank you for your input, and I know the input going forward too, because here we are with this document and you're going to keep us honest, because I know you will keep us honest in what will happen next and making sure that those aspirations that live in this document today are realised. So thank you for the work you have done, and thank you in advance for the work that you will do. We've heard from groups including Wahine Maori, Pasifika and migrant and refugee women who have come up against institutional racism and bias in the workplace. Now, we've known that's existed, but actually hearing it, and again, as I say, shining the light on it, is what is going to make the difference. Because I still go around the motu and I still have people say, oh, does that really happen? So the fact that we're here and we're standing as a sisterhood together and saying that yes, it does, but enough is enough, and now we do want to be that difference. So again, thank you. So I am delighted to launch today Te Mahere Whai Mahi Wahine, Women's Employment Action. This is the start of a journey of positive change and growth, and for the first time we have a specific focus on women in employment. We are not a tick box in anybody else's plan. We know that women have different experiences in the world of work than men, which can put them at an economic disadvantage. And COVID-19 has really shone the light on that, because it's had an impact on many women in health and caring, hospitality and tourism sectors, to name just a few. This plan provides actions to improve employment pathways for women who are marginalised at work, particularly Wahine Maori, Pacific women, young and older women, disabled women, women who are former refugees and recent migrants, and women in the LGBTQIA+ community. This plan includes actions already underway, such as supporting pay equity, implementing fair pay agreements, and closing gender and ethnic pay gaps. But we're also scoping actions to improve pay transparency, address bullying and harassment in the workplace, strengthen digital connectivity for Wahine Maori and Pacific and ethnic women in business, and extend paid parental leave to spouses and partners of new mothers. Manatu Wahine, Ministry for Women, and the National Advisory Council on the Employment of Women will progress further research on women's employment issues, which will be shared with other government agencies. Now, our government is committed to improving the world of work for women, and as part of our wider employment strategy, which includes plans for other groups often disadvantaged in the workplace, and that's what we're doing here today. But there's a challenge here too, because there are also opportunities for others to do their part. I'm pleased to see representatives of Business New Zealand here today. Thank you. And thank you along with other employers, because you too have a role to play to ensure the future of work is positive for all. And I do have to say that conversations that I have had with people from the private sector have been really positive. People want to be the change and they want to see that change. In particular, our efforts to improve pay transparency, private employers can help to remove the secrecy that allows pay inequities to remain hidden. The success of this plan will be judged by 3 outcomes. Number 1, women are financially secure. 2, the labour market is inclusive. And 3, women are supported to meet their paid and unpaid work commitments without incurring penalties. This action plan is guided by Te Ao Māori values and seeks to uphold Te Reti o Waitangi obligations. Improving women's employment can generate lifetime and intergenerational benefits for women, their children, their family, whānau, hapu and iwi. I'm looking forward to monitoring the progress of this plan and identifying new opportunity for women's employment through Te Mahere Whai Mahi Wahine. And I am confident that together we can be the difference. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa.
Te Mahere Whai Mahi Wahine, the Women's Employment Action Plan, is around three main success areas. That women are financially secure, that the labour market is inclusive, and that women are supported. It's a pleasure and an honour to invite the Honourable Carmel Sepuloni, Minister for Employment. Kia ora.
There's always this issue with microphones. If we can. There we go. Kia ora tātou, talofa lava mā lōlelei, and how wonderful it is to be here. When we came in this morning, we were just saying how cosy this is, so such an appropriate space with so many familiar faces of a number of mana wahine women, and wanting to acknowledge each and every one of you and the contribution that you have made to your employment action plan. Of course, I want to acknowledge our wonderful Minister for Women, who has led this work. Just a bit of history to add to what Minister Tineti said. When we first started talking about this particular action plan, work was underway with respect to the other 6 action plans that some of you will know something about. And we had that discussion about whether or not we just make sure that the other action plans are inclusive of women and very specific around actions for women, whether it be in the Pacific Action Plan, youth, seniors, all of them, or whether we needed a separate employment action plan. Jan was a great advocate for a separate action plan, and I absolutely supported her bid with that. We need both. We need to be considered in all of the other areas, and then we also need to be targeted and specific with a strategy that applies to women. I want to be really careful that I don't traverse the same areas that Minister Tineti has discussed, but I do want to talk about the connection between this action plan and the other action plans. Everyone in this room will be aware of the intersectional issues and the fact that there becomes even more barriers and more challenges when you take a number of population groups and then you fold them into the one person. If you are a woman, then you are more likely to experience things like pay disparities, discrimination in the workplace. That becomes even more prominent when you are a Māori woman or a woman from ethnic communities or a Pacific woman, and even more so if you are a Māori woman or Pacific woman or woman from ethnic or former refugee communities and disabled. And part of the reason that we know the disparities have persisted is because all too often we have taken a blanket approach to how we look at and how we respond to employment needs. We are trying to be very targeted as a government so that some of these challenges, the pay disparities that exist, the discrimination that still exists across different work sectors, so that we can actually stop that persistence, stop it from happening, and take meaningful steps towards addressing the challenges and the challenges that have existed for far too long. And so that is the point of having these action plans. I hope that all of you have absolute faith in the fact that, as Minister Tineti has said, it's not just a document that will be archived somewhere or just wonderful words on paper. There are a number of ministries that are responsible for the actions that are in this employment action plan. And we as a government will be monitoring and holding our own agencies to account with respect to the actions that they have responsibility for. One of the things that excites me about the plan is that it is broad-ranging. There are a number of government agencies that have a role to play in the realisation of addressing the needs of women in employment. And it goes far and beyond, I think, what we traditionally have focused on. Of course, the Ministry for Social Development is in there. Of course, the Ministry for Women is in there. MB is in there. But even down to detail like supporting the breakdown of barriers for women to export, we see that MFAT has a responsibility as well. Jan and I are part of a grouping of ministers called the Employment Education Training Ministers. We will be checking in regularly with our officials to see where they're at with respect to addressing their particular actions. We've been very clear about what are the immediate actions that need to be addressed, medium term, longer term, and also very clear in those actions about the need to continue to research and collect data and evidence to be able to evidence what is happening to guide future policy and decision making. So can I just thank you all for the contribution that you have made to this employment action plan, but more broadly, each and every one of you, the contribution that you make to women in our communities in all of the roles that you currently serve in, have served in over the course of time, and the contribution that we know you will continue to make. We're looking forward to ticking these actions off and to making some real progress for women. Whaftai lava.
Kia ora, Bernie. Kia ora koe. This action plan distinguishes itself because it's real. For those of you who haven't had a chance yet to read it, and I have, Jade knows I'm a bit of a nerd and I'll read everything. This action plan is part of government employment strategy. I want to make that very, very clear. And the strategy has 5 key objectives, which are to build a skilled workforce, to support regions and industries, to ensure workplaces are modern and provide decent work, emphasising decent work, to respond to the changing nature of work, because we know that's a moving feast right now, and importantly, to create an inclusive labour market. This is a powerful framework for change for us as women, because we're the ones, largely, who are the economic powerhouses, support and promotion of wealth and well-being for our whānau. I would like to introduce our first speaker who made this report and this action plan real. I would like to invite Katarina Kaiwai. She owns Tairawhiti Contractors in the mighty Gisborne region. Ho mai he paki e hoa. So Katarina is going to talk with us for a few moments about her business and how COVID-19 and the pandemic has impacted her business and her views on employment for our wahine. Kei a koe e hoa.
Oh, morena everybody. This is quite daunting for me because I'll talk about COVID-19, the impact on my business, but I'll take it back a little bit just so you can get an idea of where I ended up with that. So I'm from the Tairawhiti. I live probably, in our yard's probably 2 hours north of Gisborne, so we're quite rural. You might have seen on the news with the Tokomaru Bridge getting taken out, and at the same time, so there was that state of emergency, plus there was COVID in the community, which I had at the time. So I started in roading infrastructure probably 12 years ago. I started as an office girl, and then I did roading, and then I went into utilities, and then I wanted to go out on the road, and I knew everything on the computer, I knew everything in the books, I knew all the finances of it. I didn't understand what they were physically outside, and I got a bit nosy. So I went out there for a couple of inspection stuff, and then they said to me, I said, oh, can I do half inside, half outside? They said, nah, if you want to, you're either in or you're out. And I thought, fine, I'll go out. So I started at the bottom on, well, they say it's the bottom, but it's not. I started doing traffic management and worked my way up from there. So ended up on a loader, started doing stabilising, started doing dig-outs, in cyclic patrol crews, da-da-da-da-da. And then I was in Gisborne, I got pregnant, and I thought, well, there's nothing for me now. I'm going to have to go on maternity leave and have the baby. And then I went on maternity leave, and someone said to me, oh, you're going on leave now. And there was no jobs up the coast, and they said, could you start a drainage crew? And I was like, what's wrong with you? I'm pregnant. And yeah, and then I thought to myself, actually, I will do that. If there's no job for me up there, I'll make me a job. I had no money, so I leased me a truck from Hamilton. I got me a digger. I think I might have invested $6,000, put some rubber tracks on it. I used my traffic management at Fulton Hogan and started my own business and started my drainage crew. And then as we got along, I found a couple of people up the coast, wrapped them around my traffic crew. They learnt how to do whatever they needed to learn, and then that's the way they went, the Fulton Hogan ones. And then, so I had my own drainage crew, had the baby. I think I had 2 days off, and I had to go back to work. Yeah, so I had the baby, and then it just spiraled from there. So then they said, can you provide another da-da-da? Can you get another da-da-da? Can you blah, blah? And I just said, yep. So currently now, I think I've got about 23 employees up the coast. 7 of them are women, and I think 4 of them have gone on to have babies. And so we've just had, so one of the girls at work, she was the same as me. She was out working for another roading company. She had a baby, and then they said to her, there's nothing here for you, no part-time, anything. And I said to her, well, you can come and work at my work. She said, oh, but there's no childcare. I said, just bring the baby. And she was like, oh, okay. So we've had a little office baby grow up from when the baby was 3 months to she's now 15 months, and 2 weeks ago she started at Puna. I think she would have wanted to go longer, but it was more everybody that worked at the office were, no, she might get this there, she'll get sick there, she shouldn't go there yet, rah, but we finally let her do what babies do and go and mingle and socialise with other kids. So yeah, and then we've just had the next baby. So the next baby's probably 5 months old. He comes to work now, and the mum comes in, she does some office stuff, she works from home, and then when the dad, who also works with us, if I can schedule him off, then he looks after the baby and mum goes to work. So COVID, on our business, it was quite funny because with the 7 women that we had, a lot of their husbands were in forestry or whatever else, those got shut down. And because we are in infrastructure, it's an essential service, their wives had to work and they had to stay home and look after the babies. Yeah, so it was cool in that aspect that the women were the providers for their families, as they already are, but it really highlighted that extra responsibility that they had, and they were the providers and the breadwinners for their households when we went through COVID. So yeah, but I am big on plans being in action and which is what I do up the coast. I flew down to down south last year with the East Coast women's rugby team. I went down there, I put that on a live, and everybody watched it. Now everybody wants to be a part of the Ngāti Porou East Coast women's rugby team, so it's awesome. And then after 100 years for one of the rugby teams in Rotorua, they've had their first women's rugby team this year. So I'm a big advocate on women, I'm a big advocate on underdogs, foundation things, and yeah, it's quite funny because I'm really used to being in a room full of males and being by myself because I work in a male-dominated industry. And this was when I walked in here and seen all the females, I was a little bit like, oh my gosh. But it's a really cool vibe to be around. It was uncomfortable for me to begin with. I was like, oh my God. But just think, it's just really, really awesome. And I'm so glad that this is here. I'm so glad that this is here. I did fill out one of the surveys and I think I had a lot to say on it, thinking that there might not be, it was another survey, and to see this from the survey is so awesome. So yeah, thank you for having me, everybody.
We're going to track your progress, Ihua. You know what I loved about what Katarina said? What you said was we needed to change schedules so our children could be looked after. That just goes to the heart of what we're talking about here. So nei rā te mihi ki a koe, Ihua. Beautiful. Our next speakers, and you've set a high bar, just no pressure. No pressure here, all right? You've set a high bar. Our next speakers are Ngarangi Walker and Kayla Koea. They are from Kopu Ārangi Associates, again from the coast. There's a recurring theme here, wonderful wahine from the coast. And they're going to talk to us again about their experiences with regards to COVID-19 and business. Kia koe Ihua.
Kia ora tātou, kārawe te mihi, kārawe te kitia tātou, ko whakawhai te mai nei i te karango tēnei rā meki. Anō hoki he mihi, kia kōrua ngā mini tau te kāwanatanga, nā kōrua e whakapara te huarahi mō tēnei mahere, tēnei prene meki. Ngarangi Walker, Hukurangi is my maunga, Waiapu is my river, Ngāti Porou on a good day are my iwi. And look, it's the nuts and bolts for us, particularly in Tairāwhiti, I'm not that tall either. You know, I said to Kat and to Kayla this morning, a large part of the reason I set up my own company was just to be my own boss. And I think, you know, I want to acknowledge all of the journeys that have brought us here today. Kia ora, Jade. It's been a while. You know, and I'm reminded that we all come from long lines of chieftainesses in our part, you know, and nannies who just told us we could do and be anything. And yeah, it's just really important, I think, at this time to acknowledge those people who got us here, basically. Ooh. Anyway, so Kopu Ārangi Associates, I set up the company a wee while ago. I've worked for myself for a long, long time. One of my mates, who some of you will know quite intimately, so I won't mention her name, she said to me, you know why you like working for yourself, Miss Ngā? Because you're not a good team player. And I was like, oh, I kind of resent that. And I said to her, well, actually, you know, you're right. I like to be the captain and I like to win. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And, you know, Hubba and I have talked a lot over the last few years. Women and girls can't be what they can't see. And with love and respect to the universe, being mediocre is often encouraged. And I think as women, it's really powerful. I want to tautoko what Hubba said, that walking into the room today and just seeing so many diverse women, that in itself is a winning combo for me. You know, like, it's really frustrating to be a woman on the East Coast, and look, I can't talk for any others except myself and my own experiences, but I'm not high on the chef's recommended list. I don't come, I'm not mates with lots of people, which my girlfriends say that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think as women who run companies, who support the growth of other women and whānau, you actually need champions, and there's a few clubs around Tairawhiti, and not just Tairawhiti, that are quite male dominated. And like Kat, I've got a strong background in the ag sector, science research sector, very heavily male dominated, and oftentimes I've been at Māori field day places, the only Māori, the only woman, and one time this person was like, "Oh, are you the secretary?" I was like, "Bugger off, I'm the landowner, mate." So just really want to acknowledge that there is power in the women's collective, and look, ministers, we'd love to host you in Tairawhiti. Please, we want to show you what action and employment looks like in our place with our people. We're very purpose-driven, and I think it's really important that women get a crack, I should have said that a bit differently, but, and the only way we can do that is by supporting each other. In the procurement space, we had an in-depth discussion about this last night. You've got to be tier one, or you get on and they say, "Have you had experience managing a $3 million contract before?" And you go, "No," and then you fall off the radar. And it's like, well, how do you get experience if you're not given the opportunity and chance? I have till recently 100% Māori associate employment, te mea, whatever it's called, but I've got a tangata treaty, one of my mates working with me, and I think the thing with women too is you know how to take care of people, so when you bring people into your space, and I'd like to mihi te manawa and the team here at Konei and Ngāhere Communities, thank you for hosting us today, and I'm just trying to see where they are, they're in the room. But I just think it's really timely that we do have a women's employment action plan. I think that, when you're a woman, and then so you get all bunched in as women, and then when you're Māori, you get, everyone in here comes from a different story of adversity, challenge, and, I just want to acknowledge that today. I'm going to... and if any of you come to Tairawhiti, please feel free to look us up. Deb knows where to find me. I don't have a huge social media presence or even a website, but there's lots of opportunity. We have a really strong Tongan population in Tairawhiti, so I do want to acknowledge, Pacific women are holding up half the sky the world over, ladies. So, kia ora to you all. I'm going to hand over to Kayla. She actually got our survey sorted in Tairawhiti. I would like to mihi to Deb and Iripeti and the team at Ministry for Women, Kelly, for giving us the opportunity. When they rang me, I said, I hope this isn't going to be another one of those surveys where we go out and get some really good kōrero from these amazing women, and then it just gets lost in, gets lost in the stars kind of carry on. So it is really, really awesome, like you said, Tracy and the ministers, to see this piece of mahi come to life. Open invite to you all. I'm going to hand over to Kayla. Come to Tairawhiti and see it in action.
Kia ora koutou, ko pō te rangi te maunga, ko Matimako te awa, ko te ahau marae, te marae, ko te whānau tāpui te hapu, ko rua waipu nā te prau te iwi, ko Kayla Koia tuku ingoa, Tairawhiti, State Highway 35, Road to Paradise. I did some mahi with Kapuarangi Associates for Ngārangi. We collated a survey in Tairawhiti, getting voices from wahine on education, training and employment. We got 103 voices, and majority of them were around, their responses were like what Kat was saying, no childcare, not being able to do the mummy hours, racism, institutional sexism in the male-dominated workplaces. It was all, majority were the same responses. But so big mahi te Riripiti for giving us the opportunity to provide that data for you. Happy to be here today. Kind of got put on the spot this 5 minutes ago that I was speaking, and I'm not really a big speaker, but it's a pleasure to be here. Like what Narangi said, welcome you all to Tairāwhiti. Ask anyone, where's Miss Ngā? They'll know where to find her. But kia ora.
Kayla underplays herself. She came to me. She was actually she was my lifeline. I said to her on the day I met her, here's the keys to my house, the keys to my car, the card for my kid, and the kid. And she kept the ship floating for the whole time she was with me. She was like, no, don't get the guys to come and do that. I've got a chainsaw, I can cut that for you. Oh, we just need this. She can drive a digger, she can drive a chainsaw, she can drive a truck and a car like Kat. But, I just really want to mihi to my mate, to my girl, because there is amazingness in rural women, and there is amazingness in all women. So, good evening.
I want to learn how to drive a digger. Okay, that's on my list. That is on my list. Iwama, the next speaker we have, our last speaker for this session, and then I'm going to hand it back to Bernie to close us with a karakia, is Silvana Aranto Perez. Silvana works for Shama Ethnic Women's Trust, and it's my pleasure to welcome her here. Kia ora.
Hola, kia ora. Ko los Andes te maunga, ko Mapocho te agua, ko Pasifiko te moana, Silvana erentum Pérez toku ingoa, erentum toku papa, Pérez toku mama, and Chile, Latin America, and the Waikato now ko ahau. Hola, my name is Silvana, like I said. I am originally from Chile. I came to New Zealand in 2006, just after finishing my degree as a journalist in the university that in my country is the top university. So you do need to do a test, a national test, and only the best scores get there. So it's quite an achievement to get there. So when I finished my degree, I have already learned English in the US. I work in a gas station and learn English, and then I went to England with a working holiday, was a bartender, so I thought, here you speak a lot, in this role. So I thought that I knew English. And then I came in, so like I say, in 2006 to New Zealand, feeling in the top of the world. I know English, I have a refreshed degree. My family told me that is what you need to succeed in life. And I came here, and I was working holiday, so I didn't know anyone. I came on my own, and so I did what people told me. I went to the 0800 labor, and I started going every day to apply for jobs, and I was a young person, 25 years old woman, feeling like sexy ass because I'm Latin American. And so I will go every day to the 0800 labor there, and they will, all the builders, and they will be like, hola, ooh. I was like, oh. Well, so the guy of the 800 labor was a bit nervous. He wanted to get rid of me quite quickly, but he thought, of course, that I wasn't skilled at all. So at the end, he told me that I needed to do a safety course, and was taking a while to do it. So at the end, he said, you know what, just go. And he sent me to do the stop and go, So I was like there, proud ass with my stop and go, and I did that for a week. And then I started meeting people, and I started trying to change roles, more around my degrees. But then I realized that here in New Zealand, they didn't speak that good English. It was a bit weird, the English, and they thought that I speak a little bit of not that clear English. So it wasn't that easy, for people to believe that I did speak English. Anyway, so after that, the construction was finishing the site, so then I started keep looking as a waitressing that they were telling me that my English wasn't good enough, so I started cleaning. And I carried on cleaning for a couple of years, and then I moved to the mighty Waikato. I met an Irish guy, and the river captured me, really, because the Waikato River is just amazing. Anyway, so I started trying to find a job that it was matching more my skills, you know, and then I also happened that I married that guy, you know, so I was going, because at first when I came with the working holiday, I was going to be just for a year. So waitressing, construction, and all those jobs were fun, were different to what I have always done. But then I started to try to find a job. I am settling here, I'm going to stay here longer, so let's match or find a job that matches my skills. And it started becoming really, really hard. I talked with my brother-in-law, for example. He knew me. He thought that I was a smart person, but he's like, Silvana, I have my own business, but I couldn't hire you because no one is really going to understand what you say. And I was like, oh my God, if my brother-in-law, who knows me and likes me, tells me that, what chances I have into the future? So I was, okay, it's all right. I am having fun, you know, in my waitressing world now, and I felt like I was growing because, you know, from not speaking English in my roles, you know, now I was speaking English. Then start talking with people, you know, you go to the settlement center, everyone gives you different advice, everyone tells you volunteer. So I started volunteering, but then no one told me that I actually needed to volunteer in a place where I will have some kind of job opportunity after, not just volunteering anywhere. So it took me a little to figure out that. And then I went to an access radio station, Free FM, one of the 12 around the country that they are amazing to give voice to minorities like us. I volunteered there for 6 months. Like you, I think that is something that as women, we are always trying to prove ourselves, you know. So I started 3 months. I was pregnant at the time, 3 months before having my baby. I had my baby on a Monday, and on Wednesday I was doing my radio show, you know, with my baby on the side, breastfeeding. And then when my former boss got convinced, okay, I'm going to hire you next vacancy, you know, because that was proving commitment, and those are the kind of extra lengths that you need to go to really prove that you want to do this. So I stayed working at the radio station for a little while, you know, I was filling up for maternity leave. So when I was doing the maternity leave, everyone was like, oh, you're doing it so well, you're so good. And I was like, okay, that's it. I did it. I got a good job, you know, that matched my skills. When this maternity leave finished, it will be sweet as I'm gonna be all right. But the maternity leave finished, and again, no one will give me any job, you know. I was going to for job interview, and they will be like, oh, you're really good, but your English is, you know, you have a strong accent. I'm like, yeah, I am from another country, but you believe me, it did work in England and it did work in the US. Why doesn't it work here, you know? And I must say here in Auckland sometimes, because it's more cosmopolitan, probably people is more used to different accents. But when I was in 2008 in the Waikato, there was not so much diversity, you know? So people were like quite deaf, in my humble opinion. Anyway, so it took me ages, so I was quite desperate. I said, okay, you know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to study another degree here. So I started studying social work, you know, at the time, because I was doing it a little bit with my community, because you're always helping, you're being here longer. And I was enjoying it, but then in the radio station, they offered me a job that it wasn't at the same, I must be, I'm a bit arrogant, okay? So I was be the program director, and then they offered me the job of a technician. And I was a little bit upset because I was kind of, but then I talked to my husband, and he was like, oh, I wish I could be studying and not taking jobs if they offer me. I was like, all right, I could take it, you know? And so I went to my boss, and I said, yeah, I want the job. And I was crying, and he was like, do you sure you want the job? Yes, you know that I should be the program director, but I will take the job, you know? And I took it, and I did my best. Like, I put my heart onto it, and I have always tried my, and then at the 3 months, the program director left, and I did got the program director role. So I was, finally. Well, so all this was in 2009. In 2015, I came to work at Shama, and I thought, well, things have changed. The Waikato is really diverse. We are always hearing that we need more workers here in New Zealand, so they clearly bring them from overseas, you know, like, shouldn't be a problem. But actually, when we were doing the consultations for this action plan, and they asked us to organize a couple of workshops, and we invite the women, and here I was hearing the same things that I experienced 10 years later. We were in the same situation. What I really like is because I was a journalist, you know, and when you're a journalist, you do need to speak well the language if you're going to work. So I could understand. But I have my sister Iman, for example. She was a super clever engineer, really assertive, and she's not been able to get that opportunity. Why? Because people in the workplace assume how they need to behave or not behave in front of a Muslim sister. So they say, no, too hard, I may not be able to speak to you, or what is going to be the cause, so you just doesn't even get the invitation to you know? So it's how we dress, it's our accent. The amount of time that people ask, or I knew in their eyes, does your university actually even exist? You know, they don't even, we have the best degrees and they don't believe that our university doesn't even exist. How you can, you know, go against that? And then we are migrants here. Many times we don't have networks. So if our child gets sick, yeah, you need to bring it to work. So thank you. I'm going to be taking that for all the ethnic moms in the coast or in Gisborne. Because yes, what do you do with your kid? You don't have to. So I remember when I was working at the radio station, my daughter got the chicken pox. And I was proving myself, because that is how we think in Latin America. So I brought her with me, and in the radio station, they were like, no, you can't bring her here. I'm like, but I don't want to lose my job. So, don't worry, you're not going to lose your job if you stay home with your child. You know? I was like, oh, whew, great. And so now working in a women's center is fantastic, because we are all women. We all understand. So we bring the children, or we work from home according, and I know that that allows many of my workmates to work with us, because we have that flexibility. But the other privilege that we have in Shama is that because there is so much discrimination around and racism and disbelief on our degrees and our skills, that we have people that start as a volunteer coordinator and they were PhD in HR, you know? And then I have a PhD in accountant who is our financial administrator, you know? And so we get the best people thanks to the racism of all around, you know, but I do want my workmates and my colleagues to grow, you know, and to achieve those aspirations that they want. So thank you for putting this plan together, because we really hope that that is going to make a difference for us ethnic women to stop finding those barriers. Thank you.
Our last speaker for this section is La Bernadette Tamasese. She is a social worker like I used to be, although probably highly more effective and successful. E hoa mai he paki mo La Bernadette.
Kia ora tātou, e ngā mana, e ngā reo, e ngā hui whā. Tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Tālo whalawa i le paia ma le mamalu au whia le nei tūlā. Whawhetai te le lava mo le awa noa. Greetings everyone. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Le Bernadette Tamasese. I've held many titles, but today I just wanted to be a social worker. I was born and raised here in Aotearoa, South Auckland, represent. Very proud of our community. And the diversity of cultures. And today I was invited by the other Bernadette, Tofi Lau Bernadette Pereira, to come and share about the mahi and the hard work and the voices of our wahine that was put into this document. So it is my absolute honour and privilege to stand here and share with you the involvement I had with a great inspirational group of Pasifika women. Many of them could not be here today because, you know, we all have to provide for our families, so they're at mahi. But I tell you what, the meetings that we had, I really drew energy and ihi and life from these meetings. And I didn't even know them from above soap. But it was because we shared the same vision. And I think I'm glad I'm going last to kōrero, because it gave me the opportunity to listen to each one of you. And I think there are many stories right throughout Aotearoa that echo the same messages that you are sharing. So I stand before you today as a woman, as a Samoan, as a person with a disability. As you can see, I'm undercover, my skin is white. I was born with albinism, so I lack colour pigment in my skin. I'm one of 9 children. I have another albino brother. The rest of my siblings are brown. So I can, you know, my earlier days of youth work and social work, I was attending youth justice court cases. And I could put on my Harvard voice, you know, act Pākehā if I needed to, for our rangatahi. And it worked, you know. And my boss in Wellington, she used to call me her secret weapon. But I'm standing here because I'm so passionate about this document. And Riripeti, not old, sorry, my bad, take that back. Beautiful Riripeti in the back when she came to Tāmaki and started talking about the Ministry for Women. I recognised her, and then I clicked. She was my lecturer at Whitireo Polytechnic in Porirua. So there was a connection, and I think there's a Samoana whakatauki that goes, e leo se ngau matau au le ngau alofa. And that proverb speaks about how we are not moved by fear, but we take action because of love. So each of us are here today. Yes, we are women, and yes, men are also welcome too, because I don't know if I'd be mentally able to stand here without my husband, to be honest. Give him that credit. But I just want to say that as women, first and foremost, we are daughters. We come into the world, we play a role as daughter, sister, cousin, auntie. Later on, you become mum, grandma. You know, those roles are not in the employment plan. But thank you so much for giving us a voice, because we were able to speak to this document in those various roles that we play, that we don't get paid for. And so I wanted to just share quickly, just a quick story about myself, because this was a journey. And quite recently I applied for a new job. And I was telling Tofilau, I said, you know what, the job came up on Seek, and I said, oh nah, clinical lead, oh nah, there's nothing clinical about me. And it was also for clinical psychologists. I'm just a social worker from South Auckland, you know. So it came, and then they re-advertised because probably no one applied for it. So the second time it came around, I sent my CV in. But do you know why I sent it in? I sent it in because of those meetings I was having with all these women. They just inspired me so much. And then I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm a woman. I'm going to go for this role. I did my research, you know, Googled the organisation, found out that the role that was filled by the person before me was a male, and he was a clinical psychologist with a PhD. And I was like, oh my gosh, the audacity. Why did you send your CV? Try and get it back. But then I was like, no, too late, they got it now. So I got the first call for the interview. Got the first interview, yes. They called me back, can you come back for another interview? So I went back. And this is the hardest part as a woman, or as a Pacific woman, or as a Pacific woman with a disability, is negotiating that salary. And I was like, I remembered what the woman said, just be uncomfortable. Just sit with that uncomfortableness and just go with it. And so I said, you know, as a Pacific woman, it's not natural for me to ask you for more. I'm supposed to say, thank you very much, I'll take it. But I said, you know what? I've been on this cohort with other Pacific women talking about pay equity. And I'm going to ask for this much, and it was on the higher end of the salary band. And you know why I want to ask for that much? Because I'm worth it. And we're all worth it. And so they said, yes, that's a fair call. We'll take that. And I was like, what the? I was shocked myself, but you know what? That is what this is in action. This document was put together by all of us. And it's not going to be like puao te atatu and sit on a desk for 10 years. No. And I'm glad, because some of the feedback that I've been getting is, how can we at a local level keep having a kōrero to keep this alive? And I was like, you know what? Sometimes we're like, you know what? It's the government's fault. It's the government. It's the people over there. No, it's us. We are the ones that need to take action. It starts with us. And I really want to acknowledge, because I keep, we represent Māori and Pasifika, but I really want to acknowledge today our tau iwi in the room. So our non-Māori, our non-Indigenous. And I'll tell you why, and it's quite personal. Growing up in South Auckland wasn't easy, and you've probably heard lots of stories. The impacts of poverty, being exposed to various forms of trauma, and building that thick skin, that resilience to just keep pushing. It was a Pākehā woman who actually took me by the hand and said, "You're going to make it." It was a Palangi woman who believed in me and said, "The world can be better. You don't have to stay in this dark place." And so I really want to acknowledge the change makers who are tau iwi, because sometimes you sit in these forums and you're like, oh, some of my friends who are Pākehā are like, man, I feel bad. I feel bad about colonisation. And I said, don't. You're still alive. Do something about it. Yeah. So I'm going to leave you with a quote from one of my favourite people. I didn't know her personally, but Mother Teresa was pretty up there. And she said, "We cannot do great things, only small things with great love." Whai whetai te le lava mo le awanua.
I'm going to, this is our last, our closing, and then I'm going to hand it over to Bernie to close with a karakia. In the action plan, in our opening pages, there is a statement from a woman called Hinerangi Edwards, and I want to acknowledge my whanaunga from Taranaki. She said this: "What would successful employment look like to me? I believe it looks like dignity. I believe it looks like purpose. I believe it looks like best value of your time to create well-being. Successful employment is that we are able to not only feed our family, we are able to thrive, and we are able to burst out into whatever forum or arena that we choose. We want to be developers in that system. We want to be co-creators. We want to be the innovators. And wahine mā, e hoa mai raurangatira mā today, we are." I want to acknowledge Reripeti Riri. She got out on the road and she connected people in place. Nei rā te mihi ki a koe te mārei kura. I want to finally acknowledge our ministers, the Honourable Jan Tinetti and also Carmel Sepuloni. Nei rā te mihi ki a kōrua e ngā rangatira, e ngā mārei kura. This document is real. Te Mahere Whai Mahi Wahine is real. The Women's Employment Action Plan is changing lives with every turn of the page, and we thank you. Bernie.
I wonder if I may, Madam Chair, just depart a moment from protocol and be naughty and just invite to the floor my team. Two young women, they are senior youth workers from Auckland Vinnies. They know. So they're going to share, because you've all been sitting for the last hour or so, and we have saying Samoa, uave vela le fala, meaning your seat is getting hotter. So you need to unhot your seat. These girls are going to do that. Come, girl. This is Lucia and Sabi.
Oh, hello everybody. Thank you, Brittany, for chucking us on the spot. Awesome, so what I'm going to get you guys to do is stand up, Etu. You're going to need some space for this activity. Okay, and Savi's going to show you the actions, and I'm going to call it out. So it's just a little warm-up. So what it's called is I'm going to go little star. Little star looks like little star. Big star looks like big star. Demented star? Yeah, looking demented there. And then you're going to go feel the energy, and then push it away. Feel the energy, push it away. And then you wait for dramatic effect. Awesome. Cool. So we're gonna go with some more energy, shaking it off, and little star, big star, little star, big star, and then feel the energy. Push it away. Feel the energy. Push it away. Demented star. Wait for dramatic effect, all right? Now you're gonna say it with me, okay? So whatever I say, you say it back at me, all right? And little star, big star, little star, big star, demented star. Feel the energy. Push it away. Feel the energy. Push it away. And waiting for dramatic effect. Awesome. Some more movement, eh? Come on, guys. We're all young. Some at heart. All right. Some movement. Okay. And big star. Big star. Little star. Little star. Demented star. Demented star. Feel the energy. Come on, feel the energy. Push it away. Feel the energy. Push it away. And waiting for dramatic effect. Give yourselves a round of applause. Tofila, everybody.
We have come, we have listened, we have eaten, and we have become demented stars. Thank you. Let us pray. Lea tuolo mātou te mā. Mātou te whafta ia tūla wa whio I le nei tūla. Wa whai iwi ula mātou whonotanga. Whaftai Jesu I lo mapu mai mai mātou. Whaftai tai o le nei aso. Ta mai tai o Tracy. O I o le tai whono le nei mawhtanga tina ia Aotearoa. Ia e ngata I lea. O tama I tai o minsta o le kapineta, le afionga ia Jan Tineti, o le minsta o tama I tai mawhawhine o Aotearoa, ia ai le ngalo I la wau aunga o Carmel Sepoloni, o ia foi o le minsta o le kapineta, e ngafa mangaluenga uma, tau I le sio manga o tangata I nei Aotearoa New Zealand. O te whaftai atu fo Jesu mo nei tama I tai, ma whawhine, wahine, ua mawhai o na mātou ma futa whaatasi I le aungol mātou whonotanga I le nei tai au Jesu. Ia li lingi mai lau whaamanuianga, a lofa whesoswania I mātou tai to otasi, a whaiwa se upu wa sala le atua whaama ngalo au aunga, toi taimi toi tūlai, ua uma whae ena mātou whontanga le tua mātou te talo. Ia lofa li lingi mai whaamanuianga, li lingi mai loa lofa. Ia whoa ia awala ia sao, awal toi te li watu nei tamai tai uma. Father God, we are so grateful for this beautiful opportunity. We connect to you. You silence us with your peace. And you give us vitality, energy, and emotions and compassion to take our course forward. We seek the guidance of the Holy Spirit, the Tangaroa, to enable us all, to empower us, to sustain us as we return to our communities. Give us the strength, give us the courage, and give us your peace. All these things, oh Lord, we are grateful for those, our sisters that had visited us from beyond Tamaki Makaurau. May your travelling mercies take them back to their whānau and to their aingas waiting for them. All these things, oh Lord, we thank you for the fellowship that we continue to be enriched today with the presence of each other. And we thank you and praise you in your name. Amen. Thank you.